to the Upcycle Canada podcast. I'm Jennifer, and together with my husband Dave, we started with an idea, worked on it as a side hustle, and grew it into our first eco-friendly store. At Upcycle Canada, we repurpose, refinish, and reuse discarded items, giving them new life. Sit in on the conversation as we continue to grow from a small side hustle into something much more. Special guests will drop by and share their journey with you as well. This is the most eco-friendly small business podcast in your favorites. This is Upcycle Canada, where yesterday's items are reborn. Let's do this.
Hi, this is Anik from Do Re Mi Bracelets, etc. And I am so thrilled to be a part of the podcast from Upcycle Canada. C'est Anik de Do Re Mi Bracelets, etc. Et je suis tellement ravie de faire partie de ce podcast ici avec Upcycle Canada et avec certaines des personnes les plus fabuleuses, the most fabulous people on the planet. I am thrilled to be here. Hi,
Hello!
guys!
Hi! Hello! Look at this. There's lots of people. What's
so
going
great.
on? What's happening here?
It's awesome.
Hi guys!
Who's that?
Hi guys! It's
Hi.
Paige from Upcycle Canada, and I'm here also on this podcast. I'm so
Yay.
excited to be here with Anik because I absolutely adore Do Re Mi bracelets, etc. I'm actually wearing like a bracelet right now. I just love it so much.
See that? We're all friends here.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Welcome, everybody.
Thank you.
Hi,
It's
guys.
awesome to be here. Yay.
It's so cool. It's so cool. Paige, thank you for joining us. You've already done this once before, and you were our first guest ever. So it just seemed logical that, Paige, you would be here with Anik because, you know, like, you do Paige's picks, like, all the time, and you do really well at that, by the way. And we've noticed a theme that Anik is getting a little extra Paige's picks once in a while. So we thought it'd be a good combo to have you guys together on the Upcycle Canada podcast. So welcome to you both.
I'm already a super fan of Paige, so I mean,
I know.
I just love her.
We all love us some Paige. So,
That's right.
Right?
Yes, totally.
so Jen and I joke that Jen gets to work with Paige all the time, and I don't get enough Paige in my life, but I do get to see her online. So that's a good thing, right? I get to see. But yes, so we're very happy to have Paige. Paige, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
We appreciate you being here. So Paige, I would love to throw it to you right off the bat. What would you like to ask Anik about her company, about her business? What would you like to ask her? You got her right here. Let's go. What do you
All
want to start
right.
with?
Well, I think I'm going to ask the simplest and most obvious question. But how did you get the idea to make jewelry
Actually,
with guitar strings?
it's actually really funny because that's probably one of the top 3 questions that I get from people, and it's a question that I absolutely adore answering. So I have always been, and I see myself a little bit in you, I've always been a fan of upcycling. And even when I was younger, I would, if I was walking down the street and I saw something, that somebody had thrown out that I'm like, oh, I'm going to give this a new home, I would find a way to transform it even when I was younger. And I even remember when I was, I think about your age, I had purchased a bracelet, just a simple, bangle, and it had broken, because it wasn't the greatest quality. And I was like, I can't just throw it out. So I had actually wrapped it and transformed it into a ring with almost like a little rose that I had given to my mom as a gift. I think she still has it to this day. So it was sort of like already part of what I was doing. And about 10 years ago, I started playing guitar. I've always wanted to play guitar. I, used to play the violin. I always wanted to, one of those things that, just never gotten around to, and started playing the guitar. And at one point, as, guitar players have to do, I had to change my strings. So changing my strings, and I was grabbing them and sort of wrapping them up, as most people do, to get ready to throw them out. And I was like, and looking at the material, and I'm like, this is such a gorgeous material. I'm like, and then as I'm wrapping it up, I'm like, oh my God, this would make such a gorgeous bracelet. And the idea just sort of just sprung to my brain. I was like, oh my God, this would be perfect. But, and then I was like, okay, well, I can make something, just a simple hoop. But then I was like, well, what else can I make with it? What else can, how, you know, because doing the same thing over and over again is not in my nature. I'm a creative spirit at heart. And so then the idea just sort of continued to explode into different types of guitar strings. And I was like, well, guitar strings, well, you know, what about violin strings? Well, what about piano? What about other strings? And then it just sort of keeps evolving. And as I get, what's really cool is I'll have, you know, conversations with people, you know, at markets or in person, whatever, and they're like, well, do you think, have you ever done this? And one of the most recent things was somebody was like, well, I'd really love to give my husband a gift, but he's not, you know, he doesn't wear jewelry, whatever. And she's like, do you think you could make cufflinks? And I'm like,
Nice.
let me try. And so what's really cool is she actually had an old pair of cufflinks that, you know, again, weren't being used. And so combining those with, you know, and so then the magic happened. And so, yeah, it just sort of evolved from that, just the idea of, you know, finding the beauty in something that, you know, one man's trash is another man's treasure, like just finding the beauty in that old guitar string and just falling in love with the material and then just letting, you know, the process evolve.
That's
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, yeah, it's one of those things that I heard somebody say once. It was a carver who would, you know, work on, obviously, on wood, and you know, he said that he doesn't make stuff out of the wood. He just sort of removes what wasn't the creation, right? Like it's like sort of seeing what, you know, like if it was a bird, so it's like it's not like carving a bird out of the wood, but it's like removing everything that wasn't the bird and sort of letting the bird evolve. And it's really kind of interesting and almost kind of spooky, but in a good way. When I'm working with the strings, some of my favorite creations came out of just sort of fiddling around with the strings and all of a sudden just sort of seeing what the string sort of becomes, and just sort of saying like, oh.
Wow.
Yeah, some of my favorite creations just sort of became and just sort of letting the natural flow of the string sort of evolve and bend. So yeah. I don't like what I do at all, can you tell?
Oh my goodness.
So, Paige, what are some of your favorite items that you've seen from Do Re Mi?
Oh, I love the charm bracelets. I did a video actually where I talked about the ones that I really loved. There is one with kind of like an abstract eye, which I absolutely adored. And actually my mom bought it for her boss.
Aw.
Um, this one that I'm wearing right now is one of my favorites. Hold on, let me just get it off real quick. It has like a little guitar charm. And then those treble clef earrings that Jen is obsessed with.
I know.
Yes.
Yeah. And see, that's one of the ones where I was like, as I was bending, right? And it's like, I'm like, oh.
It just happens.
It just happened, and I've done a bunch of different things. I even made somebody, right, when I said, you know, some people come up with some of the most incredible ideas, and I had somebody who had like this really gorgeous, you know, set of hair, and she's like, oh, do you think that you could make, you know, one of those like hair cages? And I'm like, hair cages. Okay, like what exactly do you mean by a hair cage? Because I wasn't quite sure what that was about. And so she described it to me, and I was like, okay, I can, you know, maybe see what I can come up with. And I'm gonna try something here. I'm gonna try doing a share
Ooh, here we
screen.
go.
Hang on. Ooh, let's see. Here we go.
Drum roll, drum roll, drum roll. Oh, look at this.
It's sort of glitching out. Okay, I'm on my end. It's glitching out. I don't know if
you're good. We can see it here.
That's beautiful.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
good. So this was actually made out of piano wire. So her brother is a piano mover.
Okay.
So so she's like, oh, well, I can get some piano strings from my brother. And if you want, then you can make this creation for me. And so I was like, yeah.
That's amazing.
And so yeah, so created this again, like that shape, and it's the only one that I've ever made, but just really really thrilled about how it turned
That is
out.
really amazing.
Wow, that's
That's
incredible.
really
Yeah.
So
cool.
cool.
Paige, I remember we've talked at the store a few times about the charm bracelets, and I know you wanted to ask Anik about that.
Yes.
I'm
I know I would love it. I don't know if you've ever done it before, but have you thought about like making charms that you can just sell individually to add on to bracelets?
So I actually have, so I usually have them as, like in my shop, I'll usually have them like as pendants. I actually, so like this one is one of my favorites actually. I don't know if you can
Oh,
see
that's
it really well.
beautiful. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is one that I did around Valentine's Day, and the whole idea is one string, two hearts. I don't
Yes.
know if you can
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
it. And so, and also the concept of love
Yes.
is love, right? So I have the LGBTQ colors, and so the two hearts becoming one and transforming into
Right.
this butterfly, like just the whole idea of,
That's awesome.
regardless of who you are, of who you love, that, love can, just transform, we just
Yeah.
need more love in this world. And so of the whole idea of, being able to create something beautiful because two people just came together and
Yeah.
loved each other. So yeah, I love making those kinds. Any kind of shapes you're thinking about there, Paige?
Honestly, just like even having like stuff for charm bracelets, honestly. Not really, but to add on, I know, that'd be cool.
Did you?
Yeah, no, I'll definitely because I've had them as pendants, but I can definitely I really like that idea of having them as because I mean I always say I make them however you decide to wear them. I mean that's entirely up to you. So I really love that idea.
Because it's kind of nice
Cool.
if you can have different charms that represent you and your journey or your story,
Yeah.
and you have a little bit of music, and you
Yeah.
have love, and you have frogs. I don't know, whatever you want to build your own, story that you can wear.
That's right. Yeah.
That's kind
Yeah.
of that's really
I
neat.
did
Yeah,
that as
yeah.
a child. I know I used to have one of those ones where you could add the little charms around
Yeah.
your bracelet and
Yeah.
different things that were important for you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. One of my favorite ones too, and I actually use this design a bit, is this one here. I'm going to try doing a share screen again. So it's can I make it larger? I'm not sure if I can make it larger. But it's a guitar string butterfly. So you can see, like it's just the size of a guitar pick.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah. So maybe I'll have to, make a few of those and send them off to, this fabulous store that I know called
Yes.
Upcycle Canada.
They'll probably be sold the moment they get here.
I know.
Yeah.
We next time we order, we'll definitely get a half a dozen of those treble clef earrings
Yeah.
so that I can buy one first.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and if you guys want to go, on the website on, Do Re Mi Bracelets, etc.ca, and just see what, like, Paige, if you see some of the things that I have as pendants or as I have as other things, and you're like, these would make some really good charms, let me know.
All right,
I
cool.
love your ideas. So yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
So, Anik, just make sure you don't try to steal Paige from us, okay? Because now she sounds like she's working for you.
I want to adopt Paige.
I know, right? Everybody wants to adopt Paige.
I want to adopt Paige. Paige is
She
awesome.
which is really cool, but she found us, which is really neat, and we were happy that she came to our store that one day at 13 years of age.
I
And,
know.
very happy that she did. So tell us more about the business. When did you start?
So I actually started a couple of years ago, about maybe 6 or 7 years ago, but very informally. Like I said, just sort of, found this material and kind of went, okay, like this is great. And, just sort of word of mouth and talking to people, just seeing even if it was something that people would be interested in. And something, and it's more just in like the last year that I've launched my website, Do Re Mi Bracelets, etc.ca, and started doing that more intense sort of, I want to call it official business. But when about, like I said, about 6-7 years ago, as I was doing this and sort of exploring how, if there was even something worth doing, something really magical happened. I'm going to get emotional now
Mm.
because this is always something that just really touches you. It's always the stories of the strings. And so what happened is I had a work colleague. Sorry. And he had lost his father.
Okay.
And he had all of these old guitars. He had about 3 or 4 guitars that his father used to play and that were just sitting there collecting dust. And when we were talking, like he played and whatever, and we were talking about this. And when he found out what I was doing, he's like, well, like instead of these things, because a lot of them were broken, like the electric mechanisms were completely shot, and so he's like, instead of them, ending up in the trash, do you want them to be able to transform the strings and create them? And I'm like, of course, like I'd be like honored, like not just like thrilled, but like honored that something that was so important to your dad that you're willing to have me transform. And so and then I'm like, well, the least I could do, like, do you want, because, the strings, I mean, if you're interested, what I could do is I could create something for you so that, you're not losing all of these instruments. I'd be really thrilled to create like something for you or for your mom. And so he's like, well, maybe you can create something, something for my mom because, she wears jewelry, but I don't wear jewelry myself, So he's like, I'd like you to do something for her. And so I was like, okay. So I actually created, actually, it was funny because I created a bangle bracelet for her, but then I was like, I still wanted to have something for him because he was the one that had donated. And I'm like, well, what about like a keychain? And so because he was allergic to materials and he couldn't wear them. So I actually ended up creating this for them. And this was one of my first custom creations where I created the bracelet for her and the keychain for him so that they had the keepsake of, his dad that, he had lost. And I actually created one for myself that I've been wearing ever since. Like I wear it, practically every day. Great. It's also great because it has like the tuning key that I use, and it's really fidget. But I use it as a reminder of, the importance and the people that these.
I love it. No, I love it.
Yeah, so it's really, and that's what really the magic of this happened. It's not just, some soulless creation, but it's a creation that has a soul, that has a memory. Music is so important to us, Sorry. And so, when we have, couples, they'll have their favorite song or their wedding song, or, when we're sad or we're upset or we're thrilled, we'll very often turn to music or, memories of, Christmas time or around the campfire where we're listening to music and singing along and getting together. And so music has such an important piece of our lives. And so the possibility of being able to create not just something because I'm creating it, but something that has that significance, that has those memories, something that holds, those pieces of the heartstrings that are continued. So the stories of before, and then the possibility of that keeping those memories in the creation afterwards is just, and so that is when I truly fell in love with this business, is just that whole people connection, and also the people that I get to meet like you guys, but just I mean I have dozens and dozens of stories of just these absolutely heartwarming pieces where either the story of where the strings came from or why somebody wanted a custom creation made, like what was the significance for them. Like that's just like a whole, it's just such an honor and such a gift to be able to do that for them.
It's amazing.
Wow, that's awesome.
I'm just going to mute myself for a second while I blow my nose.
Yeah.
Am I good to ask you a question still? I think so.
Absolutely.
Yeah. One thing I know for Dave and I mean, it's probably been 25 years, I think, at least, that for the first time I ever saw somebody use guitar strings. And they made a cross, and they had the 2 nails one way and 2 nails another way, and they used the guitar wire to wrap it and made it into a necklace. So it was just a small cross, but that's the first time I'd ever seen anyone do something with guitar strings until you. So it was at least 25 years ago that we had seen that. So I'm so impressed that somebody's finally taken initiative to, because like you've had so many strings you've thrown out yourself, and just
many times.
Yeah, just the thought of doing something with them is just incredible. So good for you.
Well, it's phenomenal when you start thinking, right? Like, so I'll blow your mind for a second. I mean, we're talking about guitar strings, but imagine, like, everybody knows a musician, right? So now imagine, we're not just talking about guitars, but think of all the stringed instruments that exist: guitar, bass, even piano, cello, violin, upright bass, even snares from a snare, and I can go on and on. So imagine the tons and tons of strings that are thrown out on a daily basis, and so and it's and as you said, right, like exactly that story where people will come to me like, oh my God, like I just threw out like tons of strings just the other week, or and so when I started realizing, again, not just with the guitar strings, but all of the other strings that were out there, and then like not just strings but pieces, right? Like drumsticks, like how many drummers will break them and then throw them out or whatever. So looking at all of that and saying like, oh my God, there's just such thinking about like how those memories are being thrown out as well, just like totally broke my heart. But then like the material and just the impact on the planet is like, okay, no, there's something that has to happen here. And I had one older gentleman, actually I had met at a bluegrass festival, and he came up to me and he's like, "You're the one I've been waiting for." And I'm like, well, I'm honored, but I'm married. And he says, no. He goes, I had these pianos that I had forever. I had like 3 pianos that were completely broken. And we ended up using the wood for like firewood, but I had all of the strings. And he says, I couldn't bring myself to throw out the strings. So I boxed them up and kept them, and until I was able to find somebody who could do something with them. He was like, I don't know what could be done with them, but I know at some point I'm going to find somebody who is going to be able to do something with them. Do you want them? And I'm like, yeah.
That's awesome.
So it was fabulous that he had that sort of that initial instinct, and because that's one, I was saying to Paige, like the top 3 questions that I get is one, what how did you start this, why did you start transferring, and 2 is where do you get your strings? And I'm like, well, everybody knows a musician, like, and so a lot of word of mouth and just letting people know. It's like, hey, if you got strings, send them my way, and now, even like bring to Upcycle Canada. I mean, I've got connections. I'm starting to, take over the
world. One province at a time, right?
There you go.
Well, my tagline act is actually one string at a time.
Oh,
so
there you go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, we'd love to be able to collect them at the store. That's
Definitely.
a great idea. We're going to promote that for sure.
Absolutely.
We'll get Paige on that. She'll definitely help us promote that, because Paige will be all over that.
That's
for
right.
sure.
Yeah.
Got strings?
We need to bring some strings for her to like fashion or something. Yeah, a little braid. Yeah.
That's really cool. Paige, do you got another question for Anik at all?
My mind is going blank, so I'm gonna say no at the moment.
Okay. We'll come back to you, Jen.
I actually wanted to know if you have, like, I know you've made a lot of small detailed things, like earrings and bracelets and so on. Is there anything that's been quite elaborate that might have been like one of those big things that you've made that you've maybe only done once, or something just like, oh yeah.
Actually, my biggest item, hang on just a sec.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go.
I'm going to introduce you to my little friend.
Does he
Say
bite?
hello to my little friend.
Paige, be cautious. Here we go.
So this is Jacques.
Hi, Jacques.
This is
Bonjour,
my
Jacques.
friend Jacques. And as you see, Jacques is a lovely violin that had, again, somebody had Jacques and, you know, didn't know what to do with him. He's an old guy. And so what I ended up doing is obviously finding a lovely secondhand hat for him, of course. And his glasses and his mouth are actually made from violin strings.
That's crazy.
Cool.
Wow.
That's beautiful.
And of course, I had to, you know, get some googly eyes for him.
Yeah. So great.
And
That's fun.
I had thought of selling them, but I just couldn't. You know, we make a cute couple, don't you?
He's very quiet and stately. Yes.
And he has a lovely Christmas hat, you know, for the you know, depending on the occasion as well. So that is probably one of the biggest pieces that I've done.
That's great.
I love it.
Yeah, and I'm the other parts were more anytime somebody's asked me to do something that combines various strings, you know, custom orders where it was like, okay, they wanted something really specific. So that's probably the largest one that I've done so far.
That's amazing.
That's pretty good.
That's really cool. It's nice to meet him.
Yes.
The other one that I did, and I don't know if I have a picture of it, but I mean, it's so I had a child-sized guitar that I transformed into a clock. But I have it in my office, so at my office at my other work. So I, on occasion, will do something with the entire instrument, but that's not my specialty. I'll leave that to Funky Upbeat Designs, like that's their. they do amazing, like, you know, amazing work with the entire instrument. So, you know, I'll leave that to the experts on that. But for me, it's sometimes just the smaller things. Like I had one woman who, actually a friend of mine, who was getting married, and she had her dad's old guitar strings, and her dad had passed away, and she had asked me if I could create jewelry for herself and for her mom to wear at their wedding. So for me, like, it's right, like, so that they both had a piece of him when they were you know, when she was walking down the aisle, and for that right. So for me, it's, you know, the small and mighty, right? Like, it's something that's not as large, but that is just even more more special and more significant. You know, the attention, the devil's in the details.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Wow.
And I love that. That's a great story, and I love makers who focus on the story just as much as they focus on their craft, right? Because you're combining the two elements together and creating something for somebody that you can't get anywhere else.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There's love and attention for what you're creating, and we're getting all of you in every piece, which is something that's something that I think people need to appreciate and understand more when they support a local maker, a creator of something like you. What you've done and what you're doing is you are getting that attention, right? And you're walking away with something that's going to be meaningful, and you've captured the love, you've captured the care, and you're treating it with reverence while you're making it. as well, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's so important to me. I mean, it's one thing if I'm working with, anonymous strings, but when somebody, you know, puts these strings that have, this significance to them, in my hands, I mean, that's just a whole other level. Um, you know, I I think people are developing a better understanding of what upcycling is. I
Mm.
think initially, if we go back a few years, people are like, oh, like trash into treasure. It's like, this wonky whatever, half made thing. And
Yeah.
one of the things that, I'm really proud of is, I call it a refined take on reclaimed, right? So it's not just something that's, done to get it done, but really making sure that one, the piece is treated with the honor and respect that it deserves, because it comes from a place of love, but also that the final product is something that is, higher or, high quality, where, even the definition of upcycling is to take something and to transform it into something of, equal or higher value.
Yes.
So that's really the mindset that I want to use is that, what I make is, and especially even more so, but anytime, even more so when it comes from, somebody's own strings where or parts of their instrument where it's, that refined piece, that refined creation, that, they can honor and, last forever. Like I said, I mean, I made this first bracelet, 6 or 7 years ago, and it's
Yeah.
I mean, this thing's not going to come
Yeah.
apart. And
Yeah.
so if it's something that I would wear, or if it's something that, my mom would wear, where it's not going to scratch, it's not going to catch, it's not going to break. And it's a thrill for me anytime that I speak with, customers and they're like, oh yeah, I've had this piece for like years and it looks great and I love wearing it. Or, I gave this to my friend or my spouse or my partner. And yeah, so that was just
Nice.
it's a thrill for me. Like, so how is it? Like, is it still in good shape? I'm like, yeah, it's great. I'm like, yes.
So, Paige, you've talked to some of our customers about Do Re Mi's great products. Any interactions with our customers that where they were talking about the product or they bought the product, or any response from our customers about the products that we have in the store?
Actually, yes. A lot of people are usually really interested. They look at it for like a while and I'll like see them looking. And then once I start talking to them and I actually explain like your whole company, they really actually feel the story and everything. And I feel like it inclines them more to the store and just more to like the brand and just everything. I feel like the emotional part is really gotten to them by just storytelling.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it's amazing,
Yeah.
right? And I love when the people can see the value in it as well, which is really neat.
That's right.
You know,
Yeah.
so we had your stuff
Hmm.
near the cash desk to begin with. We've moved it over more eye level and more prominent in the store,
Mm-hmm.
and we're getting a lot of attention for your products. It's really nice to see, and
It's
we have pride as Upcycle Canada to bring people to your product. Like we feel like we're at a craft show and you've gone for lunch and we're covering your table while
yeah.
you've gone for lunch. With that kind of feeling when people come in, we're like, oh, you got to see this. This just came in, or look at this. This is made from this, right? And we get to talk about and be proudly demonstrating your products to our customers, and seeing them fall in love with it is a great experience. And then we're like, yes, and this vendor's not from here in the city. They're from, from Quebec. They're like, what? And it's just this whole, it just lights people up, to be able to experience your product live in our store. So to have you with us is huge
Yes.
for us, and we really do appreciate having you at Upcycle Canada. It's great.
Well, I was talking to somebody actually just the other day, and I was talking about the fact that I was doing this podcast today, and how excited I was about it. And I said, how thrilled I was to have this partnership with Upcycle Canada, because how much you care about the artisans and artists that you work with, even like how much you've really taken Paige under your wing, and just like how human and how down to earth you are, like down to earth, and the attention to detail that you do in everything that you do, right? Like, again, it's not halfway done, so like there's that like beautiful balance, and those are the values that I hold as within my own business. So when we started working together in this partnership, I'm just beyond thrilled to continue to work with you guys. It's just there's a synergy there. It's like like in an orchestra when everybody's playing their parts, and it just creates harmony. The fact that we're on the same sort of same sort of vibe. I talked about funky upbeat designs, which like, again, just to because there's been sort of that that synergy, having discovered them through Upcycle Canada as well, and sort of talking with them and sort of brainstorming ideas with them around like some ideas and some creations and some maybe some partnerships that we could do there as well. And so it's really like a like an orchestra coming together, and just what's coming out of it is just gorgeous, just fabulous.
So Anik, you and I have had conversations about Paige. You've shared some thoughts about Paige. The idea about bringing Paige on today with the podcast is actually to give you an opportunity to talk to Paige as well, because I know you've shared some very insightful things about Paige from your point of view on your side of the camera, as Paige has been developing and working along with us, and we've seen a lot of growth in Paige. We love Paige. You know that. So we wanted to give you an opportunity. We're going to sit back a little bit, and you and Paige now. I'd love to kind of, for some of the things that we've talked about, that you feel that you would like to share with Paige from your perspective, as you've seen her kind of grow and transform in this role. What would you like to say to Paige?
So, Paige, I'm going to make you blush. Because I had a conversation with Dave not too long ago about I've just fairly recently started with Upcycle Canada, but watching you do the lives, watching you do the Pages picks, and then not only doing them in English, mais ensuite les faire en français, sortir de ta zone de confort, puis commencer à vraiment faire des choses qui étaient pas nécessairement facile. I mean, I work with adults in my alter ego who deal with anxiety or stage fright, or having to do oral presentations in front of groups, or I have students that have to do lives and things like that, and they struggle and it's not easy. And when Dave told me, I'm like, that you're like 15 and that you are doing these things and looking so natural and like you're just having fun with it and looking so polished, like just doing it, and it just looks so easy. I was like, oh my God, like I was just blown away. And then when you were doing them in French too, I was like, oh my God, like this is fabulous. I was like literally doing a happy dance. I was just so thrilled, and really like just bravo. Like I'm just beyond impressed with you. I mean, I have a 15-year-old and a 13-year-old at home, and so I don't know how easy it would be for them to do what you're doing. So, not only working at the store and doing all the, greeting the customers and doing all that, but doing the lives, doing the Pages picks. It's just hats off, seriously.
Oh my gosh, that's so sweet. Merci beaucoup.
Ça me fait plaisir.
Ça veut dire beaucoup à mon cœur.
Qu'est-ce que tu aimes le plus de quand tu travailles à Upcycle Canada? On va parler en français, comme ça ils vont pas savoir ce qu'on dit.
Honnêtement, c'est juste les, les esprits de Geneviève. Um, c'est fabuleux. Um, ouais, j'adore comment tout le monde adore ce qu'on fait. C'est, c'est incroyable.
Mhm. Mhm. C'est du bon monde, hein?
Mhm, mhm,
Yeah. Good people.
really.
I think they're talking about
So
somebody.
I think they're talking about us.
I think they're talking
Yeah.
about somebody.
Mm.
I think Paige just got a raise. I think is what we just heard there.
Yeah, unbeknownst to us.
Unbeknownst, I think Paige just got another raise.
Yeah.
So we love Paige definitely, and we are so blessed that she found us.
Yeah.
Really.
I think one of the things is that what I love about Paige is she is such a fabulous ambassador for Upcycle Canada. I think that's the word I would use for her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because
We'll have to get like a little stash, like
oh,
a
absolutely.
sash that says that.
And of Upcycled Canada and all of us who are the artisans, right? So that it's like I
Mhm.
know, because you said, if I, you're saying, if I was, taking a coffee break from my own stand and you're sort of stepping in, and it's a little nerve-wracking, when you have your
Yeah.
baby, your creations, and they're sent off somewhere, and to have somebody else represent it and talk about it, and it's like, okay, well, are they going to be doing it justice? And after seeing Paige a few times,
Yeah.
I'm like, yep, nope, she's good. I'm
Here's the keys.
off you go. Like any
Yeah.
day,
Yeah.
anytime, it's in good hands. So yeah, no, you're really, really fantastic ambassador for Upcycle Canada, but also for all of us as artisans.
So I know Paige, you and I have talked in the past about doing these Paige's picks and stuff, and kind of teaching and working together, and you kind of stepping into that role. How does it make you feel to hear Anik as a vendor talking about your progress so far?
It's crazy, honestly. I never thought that this would ever happen, like this situation. I would have never thought any of this to happen. It's crazy. It's astonishing. It's crazy. It's crazy. That's like all I can say right now. Flabbergasted.
I'm actually curious whose idea it was.
For which? For which?
Paige's picks.
I think
Is it
it would have
me?
might have been you.
Yeah, it's
just to
probably me.
pick an artist, and then you just sort of developed it as to being.
we went the
and
hashtag and
I
all
love
that.
the whole hey.
Yeah,
It's like-
that's all Paige.
That's
That's all. Hi, Paige's picks.
I know.
See, you get the hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so great.
And then on top of
You
that,
really made it your own.
she's
right.
added the TikTok and all the.
Oh, geez, yeah,
She did a Gracelet feature yesterday.
yeah,
Just just having fun.
yeah.
And that's
so great.
She brings joy into the store, which is nice.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
before we jump off at Paige, thank you, and you deserve
Yes.
every word of that. So
Yes.
just so you know,
Yes.
yes, well done.
Mm-hmm.
So Anik, being part of a collection of vendors, how is this helping you in growing your business? And like you're talking about funky upbeats designs, which we love. How is this developing you, and how are you gaining confidence and growth from being part of a community of other vendors in the upcycling space?
Oh, I mean, there's so many things. My brain's just going in like 10 different directions as you're asking that question. I think one of the pieces is because during the pandemic and being closed off from a lot of in-person sales and in-person markets and such, I get a lot of my inspiration from the people and the conversations and that and just having I'm an extrovert, right? I love that. I'm a people person. So so being a part of this family, of this orchestra, as I was saying earlier, has given me given me the opportunity to stay in touch with actual real people and seeing what other people are doing, and just that creative insight, even like all the different vendors, like from like cards made with stones and like the different candles and the different like the wooden creations, and I'm like, oh my God, the possibilities are endless. So it just nourishes my creative brain, and then being able to make new friends, like I said, Fikia B Designs, who I didn't know, being able to like connect with them, getting to know Paige, getting to know you guys, and then just getting the feedback from the customers and what they like and what they see or what they would like to see. And as we were talking earlier, I'm like, okay, well, maybe we could have like a suggestion box, when people are dropping off their strings, like, and just sort of, having all of that back and forth, and that energy, and that just the social and creative piece of it. It's like, we're getting together and we're jamming together, and it's sort of given that feel. So it's just nourished my heart, brain, soul. Like, it's fabulous.
Yeah, because there's times as a maker where it does feel kind of like you're on your own, and there's not a lot of interaction, and that you have your full-time job. So this is a side hustle for you, right? Mm-hmm. So, you come home and you start working on your projects, and you're kind of, you're just there by yourself, and you feel a little disconnected from people because you're working on your business and building your business. So, it's kind of nice to have other people on the same trajectory and path, and connect with them and be each other's support, and have each other's back, which is kind of nice. Yeah. So tell us what's coming up for Do Re Mi in the future. What's in any inside tips or any things that are going to be happening?
Oh, wow. Lots of different things. I mean, one of the things that I've worked on and that I'm still sort of fine tuning, I said like the 3 questions that people ask, the third one is a lot of stuff that I usually have in person when people are coming up and saying, okay, well, I want to buy a gift for my spouse or my partner or my son or my daughter, so on and so forth. And, they're not sure to how they're going to get the right thing for the right person, and it's sometimes hard enough to buy, something for yourself, but if you're buying somebody from, the opposite sex, or somebody who's non-binary, or who's trans, or who's, it can be sort of people can be unsure on how to proceed, because they're like, okay, well, I don't want to buy them something that they're going to be like, oh, thanks, and never wear. So yeah. I created a guide actually for people, that you can go on my website, Do Re Mi Bracelets, etc.ca, and you can just download it. And so it's sort of those questions and answers that things that people are probably thinking in their head, so that they can have this user-friendly tool to be able to get. So as I'm getting feedback from people on what's worked, or other questions that people come up, this is a tool that I'm continuing to develop and to grow. So that's one thing. With summer opening up, and the pandemic slowing down, right? Knock wood. Hopefully doing some markets this summer. I've also got some things that, some other partnerships I have with, and so looking at where I can do, things like that. I want to start doing, more lives myself, right? You're always talking about the stories, right? The stories of the strings. So being able to get those stories out there, and being able to tell those stories, and to have people know that there is, like an after story that can happen with those strings that have a lot of possibilities, and then just continuing to create. So a lot of and then whatever else people, I'm always up for any new project and partnerships that might come along.
So if a customer has somebody in mind, they want something created just for them, they have some ideas using your guide, and they reach out to you. You do custom work for people, and they can reach out to you through the website, through social media. They can get in touch with you, and they can even send you the strings, right? And you could do something special for them, no matter where they are. Because right now we are 38 countries listening to the podcast, so you never know who might be hearing this and say, I need do re mi in my life. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to reach out to you, and you'll do that for people, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I actually had a few months ago. I actually had somebody order, so they had a snare drum bracelet that actually. So I again, because I do love myself, charity comes to self first. It's so it's actually a bracelet like this made from snare drum strings.
Nice.
And so they wanted something like that, but a specific size, right? Because it's not, we don't all have the same bracelets or bracelet size. And it was actually somebody from grand old England who
Wow.
and it was actually it was cool because my kids were all excited. It's like, oh my god, do you realize that this is the only person in England
Yes.
that has a bracelet from Do Re Mi Bracelets, etc. Like, can you realize how special that is? I'm like, that's actually pretty
Amazing.
Oh,
exciting.
totally.
But yeah, so one of my favorite things to do is custom orders. So as we were talking earlier about doing like charms, I was like, my brain is already going 1,000 miles an hour. But yeah, my favorite thing to do is having somebody say, okay, so this is who I want to to make a gift for, and what are you thinking? Like, what can it be? And anytime they have their own strings, I mean, that's even more special. And, like I said, guitar, bass, piano, cello, violin, I mean, you name it, I'll do it. And, these are just a few of some of the custom creations that I've done. A keychain out of a guitar string or a bookmark or even like a rear view mirror decoration, a magnet.
Nice.
So it doesn't have to be out of just jewelry. I mean, jewelry is the one thing that I do a lot of, but I had one. This is another one that I did where it was a 51st anniversary gift for a couple, and so they were part of a band called the Dreamcatchers, and she played the bass. So I made a Dreamcatcher out of a B string and guitar strings for them as a 51st
Nice.
anniversary gift, and it was so again something that they had, just the significance of the shape and the strings. And so yeah, it just gets me so excited to do that. So if ever we wanted to do like a suggestion box, or like something with the store to see, as they're bringing in their strings, having them do that. I mean, I'm all over that.
Excellent. That's great.
Yeah, very cool.
So, Paige, we had Nick had a chance to talk to you directly. Paige, do you have anything for Nick before we close off today that you wanted to talk to her about or ask her?
Yes, actually, I have so many questions that I've wanted to ask you. I'm just such a huge fan of all of your work. Honestly, did this start right off like as a business once you got the idea, or were you just kind of doing it for yourself and friends and family?
Yes.
Good answer. Next question. Yeah.
So initially, I actually started creating for myself, right? Saying, okay, well, like sort of testing it out. And as I said, I can make, a circle. Okay, that's fine. But like discovering the possibilities that the strings could make, and then obviously gifts for friends and family. And then started off with a Facebook page, like just as simple as that, and saying, okay, well, before I start spending money on, all of the business expenses, saying, okay, well, I'm going to start small, see if people are interested in doing that. Started with a business page, on Facebook, started doing markets. So again, in person, which was fabulous, getting that insight and the ideas and that, moved on to like an Etsy site, again, trying to see what interest was learning all of the ins and outs of what it means to create a business, like insurance and taxes and advertising and, all and shipping. I think the first time I had to ship something out, I was like, okay, I need to figure out the weight, I need to figure out the price, I need to figure out like all of those details, the packaging, like, oh my God, how do I package a bracelet so it doesn't, get bent out of shape? And then, Instagram, and then this, as I said, this year, with my website, Do Re Mi Bracelets, etc.ca, and doing that, and then the partnerships, and then, just sort of slowly evolving. But yeah, initially it was just sort of okay, it's an idea. Is this even something that that needs to happen? And then it's just sort of letting it organically grow.
That is so cool. That's such a great story. I love that. I love that so, so, so much.
It's a good page. You have any more questions for Anik?
Yeah, honestly, I do. But like, my mind's coming to a blank right now.
Anything you want to tell her?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
I absolutely adore you. I don't know if it's come across because I know like you are always just commenting on everything I do. And I feel like it's like I love you like the equal amount and I do not know how to express it.
The feeling is so mutual, Paige. The feeling is so mutual. At some point when this pandemic ends, I am coming to Upcycle Canada in person to meet you, and we are going to go out for lunch together. Just so you know. I'm telling you now. And maybe Dave and Jen can come, but we'll see.
We might tag along, but I know you two are besties, so that's great. It's amazing. It really is truly amazing to see, to reach out and connect through like Instagram and get your products to come to the store, and then for us to fall in love with your products in person, and Paige to pick them up and promote. Like it just, all these things kind of fit together like a perfectly well designed puzzle, right? And we each have our pieces to play, but when you put it all together, it's beautiful. It really is, and that's one thing we really wanted when we started our business back in 2014 was, yeah, we make stuff, but we wanted to put the focus and bring the attention to vendors and creators who are also in the same space and share that joy and excitement, and then to have Paige showing up in our lives. Like it's kind of cool to see it all kind of play out, and that's what gives us joy, in starting all this way back then. We would never have thought this would ever happen.
No.
Even to have a podcast and to have you both here with us, it's just really, really cool. It's kind of surreal, to be honest.
Well, it was such, I have to say, it was such, when you guys reached out to me through Instagram, and, I was like, oh my God, like it was such an honor to be like, oh, wow, like they think I'm good enough to be like a part of this store, and like and then like it was just, so, and it's again just been such a thrill to work with you guys and to see how our values are really so well aligned, because that's the other part, right? Like if I have somebody who is representing me, I want somebody who is representing the values that I have, as a maker, being, I mentioned, like people who are trans or who are LGBTQ or whatever, like, or whatever color or race or I that's a value that's so important for me, is to have a store that is, or like a business that is inclusive and is welcoming. I mean, there is a reason why I even have a specific line for the LGBTQ community, where I have on my website people of different races and colors and whatnot, and different people, and to have somewhere that is as welcoming as you guys, and just have these core just values is so important for me, and to know that this is something that's that's a mutual piece, it just makes it so much better.
Excellent.
Wonderful. Yeah.
That's great. Well, we're going to wrap up here. We're going to send people to the website. You mentioned it. Do it one more time.
Do Re Mi Bracelets with an S, etc.ca. Do Re Mi Bracelets, etc.ca.
We'll put all that information in the notes for the show notes, and we want people to listen to this podcast and share it we want you to share this podcast with somebody. So you need to pick 1 or 2 people, and you're going to send them a link to this podcast, and you're going to say, listen to this great podcast and connect with this great vendor, and you will not be disappointed. That is for sure. So one thing we like to do is we like to throw in at the end of the podcast, for those people who have been with us the entire time, we want to reward them. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to give them a shout out on a future podcast episode, but they need to give us the secret word that is going to be hidden here at the end of the podcast. And you get to pick out this secret word, whatever you want it to be, and people have to respond back to us with this word, and then we will give them a shout out on a future episode. Whenever that is. It could be next week. It could be a year from now, 10 years from now. Yeah. This podcast lives on, right? Yeah. So Paige is going to be like some super famous television host or movie star or something. And we'll still be here doing podcasts. Right. But if you hear this podcast in the future, you respond with this word and you'll get a future shout out. So, Anik, do you have a word for us that we can hide here at the end?
The word is strings.
Strings.
Perfect.
There you go. So respond to us, DM through our website, however you want to do. Get a carrier pigeon, hire a horse, walk over, get on your bike like Paige and ride to our store. That's whatever it takes. You're going to come in and say strings. You're going to let us know, and we are going to give you a shout out on the next podcast. Yes. Remember that?
That'll be great. Okay. Yes.
Awesome. Thank you both so much.
You.
Paige, thank you.
For waking up.
Thank you for joining us, Paige. It's so nice to have you. And I'm thrilled that the two of you had a chance.
That's right.
To talk and interact with each other. That's my heart's happy today. So
definitely. Me too.
I am too. Thrilled. Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. This has been such an honor and a privilege.
Awesome.
Paige, have a good day, okay, Paige?
All right, you too.
All right, we'll see you soon.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
See
Bye,
you.
Paige.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Anik.
This has been the Upcycle Canada podcast. Thanks for listening today. We appreciate your feedback and would love to connect with you. Email your questions, comments, or suggestions to upcyclecanadapodcast@gmail.com. To find out more about our business and access links to all our social media sites, podcast notes, and more, please visit upcyclecanada.ca. A review of this episode on the podcast app of your choice is always appreciated. Please help us build this community by sharing our podcast with your family and friends. Our thanks to Jacob Moon for the instrumental backing track used in this podcast. Please visit jacobmoon.com for more on this talented Canadian artist. Join us again for more great topics, ideas, and practical steps to help you in your daily life. Thank you for listening. Let's keep this conversation going.